Hi, thank you for tuning in today. My name is Juliana. I work as a digital business consultant for the company Digital Sundai. And we help companies address business cases and business challenges by applying artificial intelligence. And we're always looking for new ways to broaden and deepen our knowledge and to find out more about the different fields in which AI can be applied. And one of those fields is the field of text analytics. And that's why today I am joined by Mark Mooij. Mark, welcome and thank you for joining me. Can you quickly introduce yourself and also tell us a bit more about the company you founded back in 2007?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for interviewing me today. My name is Mark Mooij. I have finished my master's in artificial intelligence. During my time at the university, together with my best friend, I have founded my own company, which is called AI Applied. And we really founded that company because we learned in the university so many cool stuff that we thought, well, we want to apply that to everything we see in the world. And back in 2007, or a little bit before, because we already started with this a little bit before we officially founded the company, not many people were doing the real applications of AI. So nowadays everybody is doing it, but back then very few people had even heard about it.
And just to make sure that we all have the same basic knowledge, when you think of applying AI in terms of text analytics, what should be the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, for me personally, but that's my definition, I think AI and text analytics has something to do with whether you can learn a machine to do something smart or something which people think is smart with text. So get insights out of text which normally would require human knowledge or a human insight or a human process to derive that. Well, in some cases that is possible, but I think the most valuable applications of AI are the ones which work in hybrid with people. So I strongly believe in models where we let people focus on the specific tasks people are very good at or want to have control in, and AI or text analytic enables humans to focus purely on that part. So take away the pre-processing steps, the analytic part, which is repetitive, stuff like that.
Okay, so on a broader level, what options and possibilities are there already? And can you name a few practical examples of ways in which it is applied in text analytics?
What I always think is a compelling starting point is many people have seen the Netflix show about the Unabomber, and basically this was one of the first popular applications of text analytics. This was, mind you, done entirely by people. By analyzing handwriting, but also using specific kind of patterns in language which were specific for this person. So this person obviously sent letters to different government agencies and a bomb attached to it, and the Federal Bureau did text analytics by hand. In seeing what kind of patterns were specific for this person. So something you would see typically in those letters, but not in general letters. So this is, I think, a very understandable and relatable thing machines do very well now. As long as that is in the data, in the text itself, that is very much possible, but machines still have a lot of challenges in getting that context, and sometimes people are way better at that specific task than machines. So if I were to say in this conversation, well, it's quite nice weather today again, right? then today I'm actually being sarcastic because the weather today is not very nice, and you probably will pick that up because you know, and you've been outside, and you know that I'm situated in kind of the same area as you are. But a machine will have very much difficulties in understanding this sarcasm or even what I'm actually meaning.
What challenges do you encounter when you work with text analytics?
Well, kind of in line of the example. So sarcasm is a very specific task, but sarcasm is very dependent on the context. So people are very used to making an abstraction in their head about things they read or process in terms of text. So sometimes they think, well, it's very obvious that I write it in such and such a way, while the machine cannot get that context yet or not immediately. So when, for instance, analyzing financial data, sometimes people write certain phrases and then they say, well, this has been properly explained. But you would need an additional step to look inside somebody's head and to see the context in which somebody means that in order to fully comprehend. And this can be dependent on external data or an external system somebody looks in. And as long as you don't provide a computer or an algorithm with that kind of information, algorithms will probably derive wrong conclusions.
So is it also about training the algorithms better, providing them with more data so they can, for example, detect sarcasm in a broader variety of cases?
More data doesn't necessarily solve all your problems, but you have to account for the entire scope of the problems you're trying to solve. So for these typical kind of solutions, it's very important to fully analyze the business process somebody is undertaking. So if somebody reads a text, but also looks at certain background information or finds some other kind of signal somewhere, it's very important to provide that to the machine as well, because otherwise the machine does not have the same information the human has, and then it's very difficult to automate a process like that.
Okay, so you discussed the Netflix example in the beginning. Is there any other personal favorite application you can think of within AI application in text analytics?
Yes, one of my personal favorite at this point in time is a company which I think is bought by Google, which analyzes your email basically, and then provides you with suggestions on what you're actually going to say if you're replying to a certain message. So this is just the start of this technology, because they're also trying to work on this on a sentence and on a paragraph level. So as soon as I'm starting to talk about something, I want to tell you something that I've been developing, for instance, then the algorithms can probably already predict as well, because I'm writing more communication to other people, what I'm gonna talk about and what I'm gonna say, and basically finish my sentences for me. So I've been experimenting with this a little bit, but I also want to be careful with my data. So I always find myself in the balance there. But I think these kind of things are very promising and very interesting to follow and see how good they actually work. But I think there's a lot of merit to it, because this might save me a lot of time, because I spend way too much time composing emails, for instance.
On a last note, what type of companies would you recommend using AI in text analytics, or what type of companies really benefit from using it?
Yeah, I think every company which processes a lot of textual data, or has textual data as a input or as an important metric they try to keep track, next to their usual business metrics, I think it's definitely very worth in exploring what is possible. So of course there's a lot of buzz around AI and text analytics these days, because everybody claims to be doing a lot. In practice, I often found that it's fairly limited what companies do, and that is because a lot of companies struggle to find the right business cases and have business cases which are small enough to show some merit in the beginning. So what we always try to do is we try, if a company approaches us with like we want to do something with AI or we have this process, we try to comprehend the process they are trying to analyze or trying to improve as completely as possible within a limited time frame. And then we say, well, there are probably a couple of things you can do, but let's just start with something which can be relatively easy. So in this way, you can immediately start to show some value. So quick prototyping and see, well, I've 80% of my email communication is about this subject. Well, let's just find 1 or 2 business cases out of these 80%, which you can, with relatively limited amount of work and in investing in it, can show that you're actually doing something which makes sense. So obviously the real value is in the long tail, in adapting and improving. But as soon as you show that there is some value in doing it for a couple of easy, low-hanging fruit kind of things, then immediately it begins to show something, and people get enthusiastic, because there's also a lot of worry, like, well, people are going to be automated completely out of the process. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but I think people should be very aware that a lot of the repetitive tasks can be automated. So focus on what you're really good at as a person, and try to seek help in technology in doing the mundane task, so you can really focus on what's important. So I think what's really important is that companies who are typically in these kinds of industries should have a clear vision on what they want to try to achieve with technology. And this can be very broad, but then if you are trying to do something and to innovate, then it should be along the line of the strategy you have defined. So if you want to be the fastest replying company, for instance, on some sort of customer channel, then you should all your innovation should be focused on that, to see how you can improve upon that, and they should all contribute, and but they should be in a line of a larger vision, and your organization should be ready to incorporate these kinds of innovations once they seem to pay off.
And I think that we definitely touched upon the most important topics regarding AI and text analytics. It was really cool talking to you. Thank you for sharing your insights and information. If you're watching and you feel like you have any questions we might not have touched upon, then definitely feel free to reach out to either Mark or me, and we'll get back to you with hopefully some answers. And also, if you're wondering whether AI analytics in text might be important or interesting for your company, or whether it's something you're considering working with, I suggest to reach out to any of us as well. So for now, thank you once again, Mark. A very interesting conversation, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Julia.